I was watching Rolo's video about all the Lost Boys the other
Mhm.
day. You recently talked about that, right?
Mhm.
And when you see the proliferation of this story of Lost Boys, or people just getting swept up in everything, whether it's blue pill this or communism or socialism or just random ideologies, just getting swept up in it, and they're just searching for meaning in different places.
Mhm.
One of the things that you guys always mention is that, the red pill's a tool, and do what you want with it. Well, the thing is like, that's a lot of responsibility, and a lot of people might not be ready for that. A lot
Yes.
of people they just want the prescription. They just want, like, tell me what to do. And
Yep.
so they're going to look for something that tells them what to do. And so they're just going to, get picked up by whatever happens to pick them up.
Mhm.
And so wouldn't it be a good idea to have some type of prescription for people who are afraid to choose for themselves, essentially?
Right. That,
Like,
that, I understand. I get what you're saying. In fact, as a matter of fact, that's really been the story of humankind for a very long time, at least as far as I'm concerned. It's tell me what to do. Where do I go?
yeah.
What is my and religion
Humans
gave them
love a
that
ruler,
answer.
right?
Yeah, it's sheep in search of a shepherd. You want to know why there is Lost Boys right now. We keep bringing this back up, and this is not a new story, by the way. I think if you saw my show yesterday, you understand what I'm saying. But I used to think, by the way, and I had to change my mind about this too. When I was talking with Dr. Everett Piper, and I mentioned him in the book, there was a point where Dr. Everett Piper was saying, well, everybody believes in something. There's no such thing as a real atheist. They always have to have some sort of belief set, even if that belief is in whatever. And that I really resisted that for a long time. I'm like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Just because you're religious doesn't mean everybody else is religious. But there's still that human need for hope. There's still that human need for magical thinking to some degree. So if we would not have like Marvel superheroes, if we didn't have a capacity for magical thinking, we wouldn't have Star Wars. We wouldn't have all of these great, and flights of fancy and magical, stories, if we didn't have some sort of capacity for imagination. And I tried to make this, and maybe I should have spent a little more time on this, but I made the case, and I remember the quote. I think it was Albert Einstein who says, what's more important, imagination or knowledge? And the answer is always, well, imagination, because you got to think about it. And I'm like, no, there's a balance. They're both equally important, I think. But you can't have one without the other. You don't get to knowledge without imagination. And you can't like further imagination without knowledge. And so when I was discussing that, I'm like, there's a point where like human beings capacity for magical thought or magical thinking is actually a feature of our brains rather than a bug. It can be a bug. It can be horrible, but it's also that side of our nature, that module of our brain, wherever it is, that has the ability to believe that something could be better, or we as men, in this case, can exercise our will idealistically on the world. That has to come from somewhere, and it doesn't come from just knowledge. It comes from the belief that maybe something, what's beyond the river. Let's build a bridge. How do we do that? Let's figure it out. Let's imagine a bridge and put it across the river. So that same capacity for imaginative thought, that inspiration, whatever it is, we can call it idealism, that is a very fantastic. So one of the best benefits of being a human being is to be able to do that capacity for magical thought. But it's also something that can be easily exploited, and it's also responsible for some of the worst atrocities in human history. So if we believe that we should the Jewish Holocaust, right? That's the way that things should be. Our imagination says that this is what we should do, or religious wars, or whatever it is, or bombing, believing that you're going to go to paradise if you strap a bomb to yourself. Magical thinking, atrocity as a result, but it's the same mechanism that leads to one behavior or the other behavior. And so when I was talking to Dr. Everett Piper, and he was saying, everybody believes in something, I'm like, you know what? Maybe he's right, because I see, especially in woke culture right now, that's basically a religion. When you look at the emotionalism, and I make the case in the end of the book here, that emotionalism is going to end up being sort of this world religion. It's not going to be Islam or Christianity or whatever. It'll be this sort of whirlwind or whirlpool of beliefs that are based on like love, and that's intolerance, and that's and where if you're against them, then you're a hater kind of thing. And wasn't really brought home to me until I was actually up in Lake Tahoe recently, and I saw this like placard card, and I'm sure you've seen them because it's like a black background and it has this rainbow lettering, and it says, "In this house, we believe in Black Lives Matter, science is real, love wins," and all of these sort of like lingo and this jargon and stuff. And I thought about this for a minute, and I go, that's a statement of belief. So like when you go to church for the first time and you're visiting the church, they give you that little brochure and it says, "In this church, we believe the Bible is the unerring word of God, blah, blah, blah." And it goes through these statements of belief. I looked at that placard and I go, that is exactly the same statement that you would get if you went to a church. "In this house, we believe XXX," right? And so there is a need, I think, that is a result of that part, that module in our brain, to have something where we believe in hope or we believe whatever it is, because at somewhere along the line, we had to believe that we can live a better life. We had to believe that we can get out of a hopeless situation. So when I'm dealing with like black pill doomers or whatever, it's like I'm not necessarily struggling against their sort of, innate autism or whatever. It's also this lack of belief. And so I have to kind of keep that in mind when I'm dealing with these guys right now. So I would agree with you, but I think that I think it can be broken down into sort of like nuts and bolts a little bit more than just like, well, we all need to believe in this one religion and we'll save the West or from degeneracy.
Yeah,
All right.
Makes sense.
Thanks for posing the question, man.
Sorry, that's probably more than you needed, but I thought that was an interesting.
That was awesome. Thank you.